Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast show. And here we are once again to continue profiling global thought leaders and technology and industry leaders that are pushing the boundaries of technology, and as well how we can actually look at the way we deal with the tools of the fantastic achievements and as well challenge that we're facing when it comes to technology. One of the things I'm been always excited, and today we are here in partnership with IBM Tech Exchange Summit, MA 2024, is looking at people that are pushing the boundaries of technology, business, investment, and as well innovation. This is not easy, it's quite challenging, but as well is a massive opportunity for all of us. And although the challenges are many, the opportunities are much more if you look at it from that angle. So today I have two personalities that have fantastic profiles, and they come from Denmark, and they work for a global brand that as well is a powerhouse in technology coming from Japan. So we have Thor Hauberg, that is corporate venture building, investment and acceleration for NTT Data Business Solutions. And we have Thomas Normark, the global head of innovation at NTT Data Business Solutions. So I will profile them, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different areas, but one of the things I'm excited is precisely looking how they look at their ecosystem of technology, their corporation, and as well the ecosystem working with IBM and other partners around the world. So probably starting with you, Thor. So Thor, you have a quite amazing profile from academic to business and venture building. Tell us a bit about you and your background.
So I've been working in different software companies, and also been doing a couple of startups myself. Before I started at NTT Data. In NTT Data, I've been working with innovation, mainly around AI and IoT for almost, I think, 10 years now. And essentially that means that we collaborate together with some of our good customers and build software products together with them that we then take to a global market.
So can you tell us a bit about your background? That's just because you have a lot of different things.
Yeah, so I've been studying actually psychology and economics, and then I've been doing a course later in valuation and different stuff, and the last 4 years I've been also teaching at the Copenhagen Business School in innovation management. And as I said, I've been part of I think 5 startups before coming to NTT Data.
Fantastic. Thomas, so as the head of innovation, you have a big responsibility, but as well a sense of keep the pace of all the different things. So a bit about you and about your background as well.
Yeah, sure. So I'm always been interested in creativity and in, developing, building stuff. Started actually playing music as a very young child, and switched from the drums to the guitar to the bass to singing. And what I loved about it was really this creativity element that I later on brought into my professional life, working with innovation and creativity. And as long as I can remember, I have been working with innovation teams that have been solving problems for customers using advanced technology, especially when this era of disruption came and shocked the world. We saw these exponential technologies that were now actually capable of doing things that we didn't actually think was possible. And this is where it got really exciting, because you could combine disciplines around big data and IoT, data collection with machine learning, deep learning algorithms, very advanced user interfaces. Not only, the graphical screens where you drag and drop and type and click, but really conversational interfaces, even humanized interfaces in forms of avatars and robots and so on. So I've been part of this innovation journey for many, many years, and it is more exciting than ever right now.
So starting with you, so you touch the creativity that comes out of these tools, and especially you come with a creative background. I come as well from music background as well, and effectively a lot of things you could not do now you can actually mix everything, which is amazing. But at the same time, this brings a lot of, especially I think for people like us, it's a no-brainer. I think we are like kids in the playground. But most of the people get panicked because people have to put themselves in a box. Let's put it that way. So how do you manage this kind of the part of disruption and the part of innovation from your personal background, and especially dealing with a lot of corporates and business around the world?
Yeah, so we can see that the development and the transformation within the technology arena is going so fast right now that you need a very strong partner ecosystem in order to pick and choose all the time the best things that are out there, right? You cannot develop everything yourself anymore. So it's, at least as we see it, is a matter of combining the right services, building your own components in combination with existing available services and platforms and functionalities, and then coming from the business side, right? So really knowing your customers and their business, because this is when you can then transform technology into business value. And I think that is one of the main strengths that we have in NTT Data, is that we very much come from the business side.
And Thor, so in your case, as a corporate venture building, so touching investment and acceleration, so at the moment we have companies like OpenAI that in the space of, well, although it's 13 years, in the space of very small time right now is worth close to $100 billion. Actually, in some cases, it goes behind that. So how do you see this kind of crazy evaluation, but as well all this progression, and as well keeping the legacy on what is happening, and a bit of sense of feet on the ground?
So I think it does make sense that we see these crazy valuations, but I also think that, as Thomas said, things are progressing so fast that you need to really be part of a good ecosystem and find the right partners to utilize and capitalize on these innovations. And because exactly it's going so fast, many of the investment that's required to utilize these capabilities, you need to distribute them among some of your peers in the industry, because otherwise you will have too high a cost going into this solution, but also too high risk, because we will see that so many of these models will, within 6 months or 12 months, will be replaced by something else.
So you guys are part of one of the biggest corporations in the world, that is NTT Data. And for people listening to us, I think it's important to highlight, and I want you guys to go more deep. So NTT Data is a corporation that is a Japanese multinational information technology service and a consulting company headquartered in Tokyo, Japan, and is partly owned subsidiary of Nippon Telegraph and Telephone. And of course is one of the biggest corporations in the planet in terms of tech. So you guys are in Copenhagen, or in Denmark, sorry. Tell us a bit about the organization. How do you guys get into the organization, and how it stands for people that know less about NTT?
Yeah, so I can see I have a global role as well, not only the local role that I used to have. So I'm very much in touch and in collaboration with our global NTT Data organization, which is, of course, very much based out of Tokyo, where we have our headquarters and so on. NTT Data has then divided into operating companies. We have a company focusing very much on communication. We have a company focusing very much on data and technology. We have a company that is focusing very much on R&D. So every year we are spending $3.8 billion in R&D. And of course, then we need that all that innovation and all the assets that comes out of our R&D lab. We need to capitalize on that using, the strengths of the entire group.
So, well, it's, I think for people listening, the numbers talk with itself. And of course, NTT Data has a huge amount of case studies around technology in multiple levels. So, Thor, as a corporate venture building, so you have an entire ecosystem, of course, of startups that you're investing in, of course, with the innovation part being a huge chunk of it. How does it work, or a bit whatever you can share with us about that
Yeah,
work?
so we have done some investment in startups, also out of the local unit. But essentially, what we focus very much on in Denmark, at least in NTT Data Business Solution, is SAP customers. So companies, mid-size market or mid-size companies or enterprises, typically within the heavy industries, or you could say more process in extensive industries. And there we have this really significant focus currently on building a software solution using Watson X to these companies. So right now we don't do a lot of investment in startup. We have been doing that previously, but not anymore.
So you mentioned the Watson X. Can you tell us a bit how? So you are one of the biggest partners of IBM, being as well a multinational. How does it work this, and how do two giants work together? I don't know, both of you, touch a bit.
So I can say it from a very local, practical perspective. I'm running our CUE, Watson X CUE, in Denmark, meaning that I'm responsible for the collaboration we have, and that collaboration basically is focused on Watson X, the Watson X portfolio, and how we can utilize that together with some of our good customers.
Amazing. So Thomas, so you mentioned AI and all the innovation around AI. So Watson X in one end, there's, well, no end, I think it's probably one of the few AI systems that can incorporate a lot of different systems, and at the same time create a system and legacy versus more generative models. Can you talk a bit about that work from an innovation perspective, how you guys look at it, if you want to share with us?
Yeah, at least continuing the Watson X.ai and the governance part and the assistant part. Also, I can say that we try to expand this globally now. We have this initiative that is being led by Thor in Denmark, setting up this center of excellence, and we can see that we see very good results, very fast results, especially, which is, I think, also key is the speed to market right now, the time to market. We can see that we can really accelerate the time to market working with these new tools and platforms, but also side by side with IBM and the client engineering and the GSI lab in India and so on. And what we actually were asking for before the announcement of Watson X.ai was exactly what came out of that announcement from IBM, right? That we could have these, enterprise grade large language model capabilities that were trained on, the domain specific data, curated data, and could be deployed locally. Could be combined with open source models and libraries. So this is why I think we were not hesitating at all to jump on this wagon and accepted the partnership and the collaboration from IBM, and we are now also looking to extend this into Japan and to EMEA, and also in the US. There are now conversations around setting similar things up.
I want to touch one thing. So, as in terms of this coordination of the work that you've been doing with IBM, Watson X, so as both of you have responsibilities, you as a global head of innovation and you as well venture building, to work with a lot of partners around the world. And one of the things that I think at the moment everyone is facing is the challenge when it comes to, okay, how do I touch generative AI? Do I step in? Don't I step in? Okay, is this going to screw up, or are you going to have some hallucination that is going to create some lawsuit? I know that IBM Watson X Governance offers a lot of these solutions, but you guys as well have a responsibility as a major global player. How do you deal with the sensitivity, especially around data protection as well? I know that Japan has a lot of sensibilities, and then you have Denmark as well within the European Union. and other partners. So how do you coordinate this, especially in the partner ecosystem within NTT Data, and as well with the tools that IBM provides, but as well you guys in terms of, I would say, methodology, because this is quite important to say less.
At least I can start from a global standpoint. So what we have is that we have also our global AI Center of Excellence. We have something we call the Generative AI Office. And those are global functions that are responsible for defining, for instance, our guiding principles and policies within ethical AI or sustainable AI and so on. And of course, we have to make sure that we are not breaking any laws. So we also know what are the regional laws and legislation in the regions that we are in. Everyone has probably heard about the AI Act coming now from the European Union. So we have, of course, these central functions that are responsible for making sure that we, as a huge company, apply when it comes to legislation and trustworthy AI and so on. And then, of course, if we like dig deeper into the different projects, then there are a lot of examples of how we then can, execute on these principles and methodologies that we have.
What we touched upon before, the flexibility of the platform is very important, because that ensures that we, in a specific use case, can take all the necessary actions to ensure data, and that means making the solution that's just fit for the case, right? And that often means that we need to run something on-premise, something hybrid cloud, and then ensure that the data we send back and forth is only the needed data. And as Thomas said, that we have curated models and models that is specific for a specific use case. And then, of course, the governance solution. And that's both important from a ethical compliance point of view, but also from a business point of view, to ensure that we have a model that's actually fit for purpose, right? That continues making the right predictions over time.
Thomas, you've been working with a lot of exciting stuff, okay? And when you talk about AI, generative AI at the moment touches literally everything. You can do an app, you can do music, you can clone anything. But there's one thing especially that touches the integration of AI with the so-called fourth industrial revolution tech, such as digital twins, metaverse enterprise, and spatial computing. And especially, we are in a week, we are filming this in February, or actually close to February, January 2024. And we just got actually the launch as well of Apple Vision Pro. So I know that you are very deep into a lot of conversion technology, like we call it. So tell us a bit about the work you're doing in that direction and what more innovative stuff you guys are doing.
2 years ago, we thought that things would turn out a little bit differently. So we put some bet on the metaverse and the spatial computing and everything. And we have also set up different solutions. And even so, when we are doing employee onboarding internally in NTT DATA Business Solutions, we are then inviting the new employees to do that in the metaverse together with our HR director and so on. But what we saw was that when this Gen AI revolution kicked in, right, it sucked the budgets out of everything. And of course, the metaverse was then paused. We have all seen also the problems that Zuckerberg and his gang introduced. But we can now see, we know that 95% of the metaverse will be created by generative AI. So it might not actually be the right sequence now, that first we will have the Gen AI revolution, and then we will see that we can actually execute on the vision of the metaverse, because we now have AI generating the content and the graphic universe and everything. So we are also teaming up with a US colleague, and he will bring the Vision Pro, fingers crossed, in a few weeks. And then I think we are ready to see the next wave of spatial computing or metaverse universes, graphical interfaces. And I'm looking very much forward to that.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be, as someone that is very fascinated and as well working on this, I think there will be a lot of component of data visualization that will be incorporated on the both in platforms like Watson X, but as well with companies like yours that have a huge amount of data that you can actually leverage for language models. It might not be a large language model or medium, but in your case, it's large for sure. But one of the questions I want for both of you guys. So, like you said, so we have the generative AI that settled in the space of 1 year took 50 years of revolution. And at the same time, is actually going at a velocity. We talk about AGI, we talk about some kind of singularity moment. But at the same time, there's a lot of practical level that you guys have to consider. So especially in a big corporation like yours. So you mentioned your experience in, and as well, for instance, Japan is probably, being a company in Japan, is one of the most advanced countries in terms of especially spatial computing, I would say, and even immersive technologies. And as well, Denmark and Sweden Second Life started over there. So how do you see this convergence? Because the velocity, and like you said as well, for instance, just purely from a data perspective, in the last couple of months, for instance, during Christmas 2023, was actually one of the years that more AR, VR sets were sold. So it went very slow, but suddenly it's another velocity. And it's a question of as well, even me, if I want to use one, is very heavy, but I'm sure if it gets lighter, people will see. So do you see these technologies converging, especially in innovation to companies? Because a lot of these things can be used for digital twins around the big corporative, well, from industry metaverse solutions. And I think this is where the relationship between the AI, data, and all the models are going to converge. So in a recent conversation, you were talking about human digital twins. So you want to talk about that part and probably how you guys combine this more cutting edge part with the more realistic part of the business, because of course this creates a lot of new business opportunities as well.
We have been working with this concept around replicating human beings in technology for, I think, 4 years professionally. Before that, it was more like a research project. But what we could see was that that with AI and then the AI technology is available already, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could replicate human behavior in technology. So having, for instance, these conversational interfaces and also being able to do what we maybe today call RAG, but information retrieval in unstructured data sets was already possible at that point. And later on, we also realized that we could replicate the human look and feel, so how a human being would look like, and how all the micro expressions would be connected to the content that you're trying to communicate and your body language and your emotions, right? So we have now combined, the two research projects, one about replicating human behavior and the other one replicating the human appearance. We've now combined this into what we call our digital human platform, where we can create these, what I call digital newborns, right? So it's digital newborns that can then be trained to specific job functions. It could be a digital human receptionist, as we have now many places already deployed. It could be a digital human sports promoter. It could be a digital human sales clerk or librarian or healthcare assistant. So really trying to bring in these digital humans where real humans and flesh and blood are not available. So this we can see is really kicking off right now, because the market, the customers are now not afraid of this anymore, because they have seen, based on the generative AI revolution, that technology will be more and more humanized, and the abstraction layer between human and technology will go away. We will interact and communicate with technology on human terms, not on the terms of technology.
You guys don't know, but I'm quite excited about these things. But this brings a lot of possibilities business-wise, because of course, for instance, in Japan, there was a study that most of the Japanese, which is an old population, prefers actually to have androids and avatars, and actually even other humans, which is another conversation. But in the end of the day, if you look at the narratives of science fiction, well, Star Trek show that, any narrative on that. So Thor, from a perspective of business and ethics and the governance around these parts, because of course this is happening as we speak. For instance, at the moment, the quantity of influencer AIs that are already proliferating all over the internet is becoming, actually there's right now a new trend about AI digital twins for dating, which I thought it was a joke, but it's actually talking about thousands of people. So this is a big thing. And as well, there's a component of the digital twin of like the human AI, you put it, but as well the data of these humans mixed with the rest of the data. So how do you look at that from a corporate perspective, and you keep the pace of innovation, regulatory, and as well keep pushing forward the business?
So I think we need to work in parallels, because on one side we need to have the research that just needs to push the boundaries. At the same time, I think the legislation and the way we perceive how these should be adopted is also changing, and that is just a couple of years behind. But I think essentially the really big opportunities in this space is online shopping, and I think just the way we engage on the internet will dramatically change. We already see that now in terms of how we search for information on the internet. Um, it can both be generated, but we can also start to combine new or data, and we can be augmented in the way we search for data and the way we learn online. And I think eventually, as the things Thomas talked about before, as they converge more, we will see that we'll actually be able to generate these digital humans on the go for very specific cases, but auto-generated. And essentially, I think that will at some point go into the metaverse. And I think that's just the way things will go, and we just need to be very cognizant about how that journey evolves over time.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I'm completely with you. And the challenge right now is how we combine these, because, for instance, our children are already in Roblox and in Fortnite, and well, not just children. There's 3.5 billion people playing games, so that's in one way already a huge component. So one of the things the NTT data provides is focus on sustainable principles for technology, and sustainability is a big thing as well. And I know that you guys are working very close with IBM. So one of the features as well that you have is smart sports solutions, which integrates a lot of things, because you do your sports, but in one end you want to look at your data. Do you want to elaborate a bit about some case study about, or it might be a digital twin or smart sports or both, if you guys want to share with our audience? I think it's quite important because there's not so much attention, especially in this combination between metaverse or immersive technologies, and then the data, and then the combination of human digital enhancements, and as well the sports. In the end of the day, we all do some kind of activity or like some kind of sports.
Yeah, so at least from our department, it has been a very exciting summer in 2023, where we supported both the Tour de France, the Open in golf, the World Cup in basketball in the Philippines, and then the Major League Baseball in the US. And it was the same technology concepts that were deployed on each of these sports events. So it was very much about data. So collecting data from, for instance, from the courses on the golf field. We would have sensors, we would have drones overflying the fields. And then we would have all that information gathered in one big data lake, where you can then process the data and extract the information, the real-time information that you need. And then on top of that data solution, we then bring in our digital human sports promoters. For the Open, she was called Lottie, and Lottie was a golf expert. She was connected to something we built called Sports GPT, meaning that we have fine-tuned a large language model, so it could really talk about golf in very granular to specific details. So you could ask, how can I improve my backspin on the green, or how can I improve my driving skills, or what are the rules, or what are the size of a golf ball, or so you can really ask any question, a general question about sports, and then Logi would then be able to answer it, not by predefined answer, but real-time generated answer. In combination with all the data points that we are then collecting on the golf courses and around the players. So you can also see who is right now playing on hole 16, or who has the longest drive of the day, or who are doing the fewest putts on the course. So really combining real-time information with general information around sports. And basically we did the same in the Tour de France, just having sensors on the bikes and helicopters overflying to collect the data. And against the same for the other events. So this is this kind of digital human sports promoter, this persona that we're trying to create that can improve the experience of the fan experience and the experience of the audience. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's congratulations! It's quite amazing case studies, and we'll create probably a special, at least a clip just about that, because I think it's one area that I'm focusing a lot on, sports and data and AI, and there's a huge market for that because there's everyone on the planet. So, Thor, one of the things that NTT is focused is, of course, on cybersecurity, and of course, everything we're talking here requires cybersecurity, and the same with IBM. So, how do you combine to make sure that, bear in mind the quantity of data, the quantity of people you touch as well, that you manage to keep all these things, because there's the governance, but part of the governance making sure that you have security first, and then the trust. So a bit of, especially if you could go in one case study or two that can explain how you're looking at this for people listening to us, and as well for learning, because you guys have much more understanding, I'm sure, with the challenge that you've been facing as well.
So we have one customer. It's a manufacturer company in Denmark, and for that case, or for that customer, we have two cases, and one case is on the production or manufacturing shop floor, and where we actually are required for the solution to work to be able to take images inside the production facilities, and that of course means that since these informations are very sensitive to this company, that the way we deploy and design the solution means that it has to be on premise. So going back to the things I said before, so I would say that's one example. And for the same customer, and also within their manufacturing sites, we have another case where we are doing predictive maintenance analysis. And there we can actually, because those data are not sensitive, so we can just put them to a service and then return a result of prediction, right? So I think that it comes very much down to the specific case, and that's why I think this ability to do something on-premise and hybrid is very, very relevant and very important in many of these cases.
That's a very important one, and especially the sensitivities about data are going to be just becoming bigger, and as well these ecosystems that you guys are building are super important. So I think we passed a bit of the time, but it's exciting, you guys. I would have much more questions, so I want to just probably one question for each of you. So what excites you more when it comes to, of course, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening, and of course sometimes even me, I panic in the sense, okay, if at the moment I can just having a basic interactive chat with a chat, at a certain point, this is, like I said, we're going to have with a completely, and even I'm building digital twins that look amazing, and I feel like talking with them. So what would be from your side, more on the innovation side, what excites you more and what scares you more? And the same with you, probably more on the corporate, on the investment side.
Yeah, so the exciting thing for me to look into is how these innovations or technology superpowers, they will now merge, they will now integrate into each other, right? So as you said, the metaverse, the digital human twin, generative AI, even blockchain solutions to ensure that we can do tracking and ID and everything. So watching these technology come together in a big pot and then merge into it and create this wonderful, taste of the future. That is what I'm looking very much forward to. On the other side, I'm a little bit scared about what will happen when all these autonomous AI agents, they will be let loose.
Yeah, definitely we have to work on that one. I think it's the biggest one. Thor.
So I think the part that interesting or makes me most um, 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 hyped is I think basically this. I think the best example is probably that until recently we said AI can do a lot of things, it can automate, augment, etc. But creativity, it can't hurt that. That will be kind of the last thing that us humans will have and do better than AI, right? And now realize that's not really the case. And I think that's at one point it excites me really much, but on the other side, I think it's also a little. It gives me, cause to be a little worried, right? And I think when we have all these super capabilities, essentially we need to test something in kind of a lab format and then see what it does to people. What does this transformation or intervention, what does that create? And I think that's, super important that we keep having this perspective that whenever we introduce a new technology, we don't really know the effect of it before we see it. And having, that take this pause and stop up and just, evaluate what is actually the impact of the technologies that we put into the market. I think that's very important that we do that as a society.
It's been an honor. I think there's much more questions, but I think I'll let you brief a bit. I know that you have as well. So, first of all, congratulations on your fantastic achievements, on the work you've been doing. We're going to put as well links to all of this. I know that you guys have as well the partnership with IBM. We're going to highlight some of these things. One of the things I think the case studies are really interesting about the sports, about the corporations. And, well, I wish you continuous success. And thank you so much.